situation isn't extremely concerning, especially if they move out of the retirement home and into a house that isn't as well adapted to whatever her needs are. However feeble she is at this point, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Brian ends up going before she does. With his feet in the state that they are, and how little he's taken care of his health as of late, there's simply no way he'll be able to stream like this forever. He's been drunk streaming for what, over a decade at this point? The fact that his liver hasn't literally exploded is a miracle itself. As it currently stands, Brian and his mom are between houses, but I doubt she's going to want him around for much longer. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he just finds himself homeless soon, if not going on another RV run that sees him transform into Homer. Sadly, this is the story of Only Use Me Blade, an average man who managed to get a head start on his online career, pumping out content at a time it was easy to make thousands of dollars a month with minimal effort. He was a part of one of YouTube's earliest communities, collaborating with some of the most important figures of his time and having fun while doing it. But over the last 15 years, we've been able to witness his descent into madness, as addiction grabbed him by the throat and didn't let go. He watched all of his peers pass him by, moving on to other projects and moving up in life. They raised families, they bought houses, and they made millions. All the while, he's thrown what little his chat donates to him down the drain, literally rotting his body from the inside out. Despite all of this, he's still middle-aged and definitely has some time to turn it around before his elder years and be a somewhat productive member of society, even if a lot of the people he's hurt along the way are probably never going to forgive him. Whether that's actually going to happen, I'll leave it up to time. I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time.
Still got my foot, and not proud of it. I'm actually super duper embarrassed by it. Right now. No one can drink some?
And he was like passed out and falling over, but the cop even says like, your foot stinks, but he's like blackout and falling all over the place.
Redeem yourself while you can, please, and go to sleep.
What's up, guys? The first Blade.
And maybe lay off the alcohol for a little bit. Just a thought.
I'm an avid hiker, skydiver, scuba diver, and I just love to be outdoors.
From 250 million views every month to barely scraping together 5,000 on a day-old video, WatchMojo has officially lost its place as YouTube royalty. To many, they've always represented the worst aspects of corporate content, passionlessly pumping out video after video regardless of quality.
Today we're counting down our picks for the best comedic highlights of Speed's career.
Bro, oh my God, what is...
Despite the complaints, they managed to maintain their status as one of the platform's most popular for over a decade, with an office of full-time employees and a dedicated viewership that kept up with their upload schedule. Today, however, their numbers have dwindled. Plenty of YouTubers and streamers have failed and had their careers cut short, but one man refused his fate. He's been relentlessly targeted by trolls, or detractors, as he would put it.
You're a loser.
Some of whom were outright demented and obsessive. He accidentally streamed himself throttling his turkey.
Oh, the camera's on.
He's been copyright strikes, demonetized, had accounts of his terminated, he went bankrupt, and yet he's still standing.
Enjoy your live stream fails. I'll sit here making content, making money, and having a great time with my audience, and you can get bent.
Who's often been compared to a cockroach due to his impeccable survival skills in the realm of online content creation. No matter how objectively wrong he is, no matter how destitute his life becomes, no matter how much he has to kneel and beg for money on his streams,
let's get some super chats, let's get some tips. What is going on?
He will stand his ground, and through his screeching, nasally tone, mouth off to anyone who dares to criticize him. You may think you've seen egotism and delusion before, but you have seen nothing if you haven't witnessed the one-man army, Phil, wage his crusade against his detractors, which include trolls, the IRS, his gambling addiction, and ultimately, reality itself.
Okay, I'm gonna start my new attack. Clip this and put it on Reddit for us, okay? Hello, Reddit readers. Hi, everyone who sits on Reddit all day reading it.
I received $1 tip so far today. Wow, this has been a great podcast. Huh?
Don't ever ask anything of me ever again.
Can't do it. That's it.
Now stay in that miserable slumber in PC. You are literally a bum to me. Now share this on your poverty, weirdo.
Cracks, you're gonna keep coming back. Why? Because you keep smelling the syrup.
Just get banned now and speak up so I can ban you now so I don't have to listen to you ever again. Unless we get 50 subs by the end of tonight, now it will be 49. You're never getting text messages in your moral support ever again. It's the worst support I've ever gotten ever in my history of streaming for games. I've never gone $5 a whole stream.
A lot has happened since my first video on Darkside Phil. I titled the video A Decade of Failure, and unfortunately, it looks like 10 years is turning into 20. We'll begin today's video in 2023 AD, which came to a close for Phil in a very dark manner. DSP was the victim of the vile crime of robbery. His words, not mine. But our courageous hero downplays the severity of this vicious attack, saying it wasn't a big deal and that he's fine. When he went on stream to reveal the full extent of this robbery, he explains that what actually happened is he left his shopping cart unattended for 2 minutes as he waddled through the entire supermarket to get cranberry sauce, and when he finally got back, the cart was gone along with his reusable shopping bags.
Why would you look for a cart of someone else's shopped groceries and take that cart?
He then recalls having waddled for several minutes more in search of his forsaken cart, cranberry sauce in hand, as the realization set in that some heinous criminal had made away with his loot. The fact that rapscallions would engage in such foul thievery at the local Walmart in this day and age sickens me and is also a massive shocker.
Walmart is crazy today. First offering is
in all seriousness, Darkside Phil's story has continued down the beaten path. As dedicated detractors continued their work in tracking DSP's year-over-year downfall, his losses weren't just measured in finances, but also in aura, as he accidentally exposed himself on stream as being a victim of the dreadful Norwood Reaper. Frankly, I have empathy for Phil here. My recommendation, the Tower of Babylon hairdo. Nobody will suspect a thing. Let's not forget, however, that no weapon formed against Darkside Phil shall prosper, as despite suffering from a shortage of money and hair follicles, to this day, he remains the immovable object he's proved himself to be in every way. For example, in December, he weighed in on the gaming news of the time regarding the Game of the Year awards, which he confidently stated would go to a mainstream AAA game like Starfield and definitely would never go to a computer RPG like Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3 is popular right now, but once Starfield hits, you're likely not going to hear anything about Baldur's Gate ever again. Baldur's Gate 3 could literally be the best game of the decade, and it's still not going to get as much attention as a game like Starfield. You have to understand this.
To the surprise of millions, DSP was actually wrong, and Baldur's Gate won Game of the Year. Phil handled the situation with all the poise you can expect him to have.
I am addressing directly people who are ridiculous or unfair. That's who I address with this nonsense. Were you foaming at the mouth today to come to my stream to say I can't wait to call out Phil on being wrong because Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year? If you were, you aren't.
As far as I'm concerned, Baldur's Gate winning just proves that the gaming industry is conspiring against Phil. Whoever picked Baldur's Gate to win the award just to spite him is probably the same person responsible for tweaking every single game that comes out just to make sure Phil sucks at them and rages.
I wasn't touching a single button. Game. What a piece of shit.
This is one of the things people latched on to DSP for in the first place. His constant rages at games and his inability to accept that he is simply bad at them. He'll blame the game mechanics, his controller, his internet, the mailman, literally anything other than himself.
You idiots at Nintendo. It's just endless hits with items you keep giving people behind me. There's no driving involved. You're so dumb.
His lack of skill is only matched by his lack of impulse control, as he has emotional meltdowns every time he loses, and he loses a lot.
I'm not doing it wrong. The game just doesn't want to give you footing there.
Some of his crash outs, however, are more questionable than others. For example, this one.
No skill or effort in anything you've done.
Struck out on just 3 pitches last time.
Zero skill or effort. Just stand there and throw sign and boom. The game doesn't work right online. You can't react to it, numbskull idiot. So if you want to do that, then why even play a fighting game? You can go play a shoot 'em up. You don't have to play a fighting game to do it. Go play R-Type.
Buffoon, you mouth drooler.
The person beating him here and being called a mouth drooler who puts no effort into gaming is Spliced Helix, a father and gaming streamer who was diagnosed with MS in 2011. His condition clearly doesn't stop him from destroying DSP and Street Fighter, though.
All he has to do is no effort here.
No skill or effort in anything he's done.
Obviously, Phil probably had no idea he was calling a guy with MS a numbskull idiot, but it is pretty funny and ironic to know that he got smoked by him.
Numbskull idiot.
As far as I'm concerned, it was either a level playing field or Phil was actually at a disadvantage here. No able-bodied person consistently has Phil's output when it comes to the quality of his playthroughs, or play troughs, as he put it in his channel's promo. It would be one thing if this was an isolated incident, but it turns out that Phil does a lot of friendly fire during his Street Fighter streams.
What does this mean? This is like something that someone who's mentally slow would do. Oh, look, I beat you, so now I'm going to scroll my menu. Why are you doing that? You look like a moron. You look like you have like a mental incapacitation. Why are you doing that? You're not taunting me. You just look like really incredibly stupid. Like, dude, I won a match. Now I do this, dude. Like, why would you do that? It's the same as, oh, I won. Let me play with my fidget spinner now.
There is an argument to be made, however, that Phil is actually good at Street Fighter, but he just keeps getting distracted by the scantily clad characters. If you're a Street Fighter gamer, then you may think I'm referring to Cammy or Chun-Li here, as they've been the focus of a lot of gooners for the entirety of their existence. But it's much more likely we're talking about the Russian wrestler Zhang Yi for multiple reasons. DSP has proved himself incapable of resisting the temptation to ogle at muscular men.
Or World Tour, I think. Oh.
Hello inside. Get exclusive Mortal Kombat 2 wallpapers.
Definitely a swing and miss slider down and in. He finished that really well. Just couldn't get him to offer
Look at
it.
this stuff. You know, I looked like that once in my life, in my dreams. All right, I guess we got to make our avatar. This is going to be very exciting.
If you want that, that's fine. Enjoy it in your own time, your own space, in your own playthroughs. Or go to someone else's Horn Dog streams where they're doing that kind of stuff. You're not going to find that content here.
Oh.
Time and time again, he's made it clear what he truly enjoys in life.
Back then, McDonald's nuggets were actually like succulent.
You would bite into it and it would be like a juicy burst of meat in your mouth. And it was salty, but it tasted really good.
Setting aside these instances of DSP showing side effects of being on heart medication, the fact of the matter is, images of huge, sweaty wrestlers are historically something DSP will spend thousands of dollars on. I mean, literally. One of the main reasons DSP has gotten so much flack for e-begging on his streams and constantly guilt-tripping his audience about his bills or whatever else he needs money for is that he has been repeatedly exposed over the years for spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on a mobile game called WWE Champions. His original account on this game had the same handle as his YouTube. They call me DSP. But he eventually changed it to Down from the Rafters to try and throw people off his trail. Detractors simply continued to track the account's activity and match it to DSP's on-stream activity. And obviously, whenever he was busy on stream, the account wasn't active. And whenever he was gone, suddenly things started moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I need that money. I really do. I need that money. Pay my bills, the electric bill, the internet bill. Thanks for the money, dummy. Because that's exactly what you are. A bunch of empathetic idiots who paid me money to get absolutely nothing out of it. Thanks.
In one of these instances, a Twitter user named TJ Gamebox noticed something interesting. During one of DSP's bathroom breaks during stream, he instantly fired up WWE Champions and started burning through his bank account, spending $2,000 in one single bathroom break before he stopped. The sheer depth of this man's addiction is hard to explain, and this was not an exceptional circumstance either. Multiple times throughout 2024, DSP's account was documented as having spent up to over $2,000 in one single session. His behavior in the community is so infamous that talking about DSP is strictly forbidden in the WWE Champions subreddit.
Speak his name.
Imagine if you were such an insane gambler that the MGM Grand in Vegas banned its customers from even mentioning you. Now, despite how bad gambling is for gambling addicts, I'm not trying to moralize about gamblers here. I probably would be deathly addicted to gambling if I tried it, so I don't want to judge too hard.
Now this one gets through.
However, most gamblers either spend their own money or they are gambling streamers, and their viewers know that every penny and dime they donate is going straight to the house. DSP, on the other hand, conceals his addiction by misplacing his dopamine starvation onto his streams. One of life's hardest tasks is trying to psychoanalyze whatever is going on in Phil's mind. It appears to be mostly vacant, albeit with some thought-resembling observations peppered throughout. I will say, I think one of the things a lot of people miss about Phil's aggressive e-begging episodes, such as this one,
this game is the worst support I've ever gotten ever in my history of streaming for games. I've never gone $5 a whole stream. So,
is that his emotional charge in the donations comes from his attachment to WWE champions. I'm sure that his debt and his nostalgia for the times when his online content actually made any money has something to do with it, but nowadays, I suspect that's a much smaller factor than his need for juicers. I doubt he's ever going to get to the point where he's debt-free and won't constantly be looking over to the tip amount as he streams, because a gambler is never satisfied. Credit where credit is due, though. He does a really good job of misdirecting and making everything about him being an e-beggar or a man-child. But beyond that, in his deeper psychology, I think he's just yearning for that mythical Hulk Hogan pull.
Oh my God!
Everything else is a sideshow, a hobby. I don't even think he can find joy in other stuff as much as he just tolerates it. For example, he used to be into fighting games, but he's clearly worn out and tired of them altogether. He doesn't seem concerned with even trying to be good, or at the very least, not being a terribly sore loser.
this is such trash gameplay, see?
Oh, look at the stop.
You want to teabag me, huh? You're a trash player. You're a trash player playing pattern cami, online with lag, dropping half my moves, and you're going to teabag me? No, you're going to get blocked, and I'm never playing you again. What a loser.
The funniest part is, he's gone out of his way to denounce what he just did on stream, which is quitting the match when you see that you're about to lose.
Because if you're pulling the plug on a fighting game online, that means absolutely nothing, and you somehow value your online rank. I mean, and there is no way that anyone can dispute it. The moment that you do it, you pull that plug, and if you're doing it publicly, that's even worse.
He doesn't care that he's a hypocrite, just like he doesn't care about ingratiating himself with the fighting game community, or any community, even his own. One of the running gags and consistent elements of Phil's stream is that he'll often reward a big juicer, a donation, by wearing some silly article of clothing. The thing about this is, even this pathetic excuse of a reward for donos is something he's unwilling to do, even when he does get huge tips and blows way past his goals.
So I got a $100 tip. Amazing. The thing is, I would actually like to start playing, so please let me play for a bit. We can worry about hats and stuff later. I really want to play Street Fighter tonight, and if I keep getting distracted, we're never going to start. Let's play for a bit. Looks like I received another $25 tip. As I've said, I'm playing Street Fighter. I'm just trying to get warmed up. I'm trying to get back into the character. The first thing I should do is not slap on a bunch of clothes that are going to make me sweat when I'm already at a very high, adrenaline level. I can tell you right now, I already feel sweaty, and I'm just sitting here with absolutely nothing on whatsoever.
Wait, rewind that. What did he say?
And I'm just sitting here with absolutely nothing on whatsoever.
Last time he had nothing on stream, it didn't go too well.
Oh, the camera's on. The camera's been on the whole time, huh? I don't even know.
Ball one.
This is the 1,400 hours a year you waste on your phone. With Purdue Global, you can turn that time into a degree. An extra 1,400 hours isn't just time regained.
Hello.
Let's hope he's not going to air out the old almonds again anytime soon. After complaining and dragging his feet like a kid for an hour, he eventually put on the hat, and 15 minutes later, the vest. But not without complaining some more.
Alright, I'll get the vest on for you guys, and now for the next 45 minutes, I'm just going to be sweating profusely like an idiot because I'm wearing jumpsuits trying to play a fighting game. Whatever. I wish people would just be understanding and understand when I'm playing a fighting game, I'm already heated, but no, everyone wants to shoot the vest. It's like, whatever. I'll do it. Fine.
Doesn't he have air conditioning? Where does this guy live? The Sahara Desert? How could a vest and a hat make it so hot that you can't even sit down to play a video game? He's up over $200 and whining about how it'll make him worse at Street Fighter, as if he didn't suck already. Despite his terrible attitude, not only toward his viewers not sending him money, but also towards the ones who actually do send him money, he consistently struggles to figure out why he occasionally fails to make money on stream.
On the YouTube side of things, we've got nothing. We've got no contributions whatsoever. No memberships, no super chats, Nothing. So let's get the tips.
Although Phil is not an evil person per se, it's moments like these that truly make you understand why he's so hated. From the shameless begging to pouting at the camera like he's owed something, it's actually hard to believe that this is a middle-aged man and not a 13-year-old mad at his grandma for not paying for his V-Bucks. One of the most impressive characteristics of DSP is that, for all his faults, he truly does not discriminate between people. Whether you're one of his supporters or a detractor, he will treat you like a total idiot regardless.
You need to make your viewers want to show up.
That's the dumbest statement I've ever heard.
At least he doesn't play favorites. Obviously, I'm being a little bit facetious here. He does discriminate. Not among his viewers, but for whatever reason, against women.
I don't want to come across like a woke, but like,
Ball one.
dude, women have it hard, and I empathize with them.
Now, you probably know me well enough to know that I'm not one to clutch pearls over this kind of thing.
I did it because I like order. Hell, I love it.
But one thing that Phil has in common with Elliot Rodger that I don't is that Phil wrote his very own incel manifesto. Back during his days of glory, when Phil still had human DNA and was a part of the fighting game community, he was relatively active on a gaming forum with an account called Punisher, where he randomly posted what I can only describe as his screed. I don't want any of you girls here to think that I'm writing about you, because I really don't know any of you well enough to make a judgment call. Well, 99.9% of you anyway, so don't take this personally. It's just that every woman I've ever known has let me down. Are there really, truly interesting and wonderful women? Every woman I've ever known was either 1, extremely selfish and self-centered, 2, too busy feeling sorry for herself to do anything else, 3, too annoying and or geeky to stand for more than 30 minutes, 4, too stupid to listen to advice they ask for, doing stupid things and then complaining to you because they went totally against what you told them, 5, a total 6, a total tease, leading you on and then crushing you under their boot when you finally let on that you like her, 7, a total liar, 8, so demanding that she expects you to read her mind like some kind of psychic and never do anything unless it's with her. Don't be fooled. If she says you can go do something and she doesn't mind, she's lying and you'll pay for it later. 9, too full of herself, or 10, just plain crazy. Every single woman in my life fits one or more of the above, and every single one has let me down. You want to know why so many guys are so uninteresting, full of themselves, thinking they are the shit? Because women demand it. If a guy has no confidence, then that's no good. Women always whine they want a nice guy and there are none of them left. Give me a break. Women walk all over nice guys, use them, abuse them, play with their hearts, but in the end, they always screw them over, cheat on them, break up with them, tell them, let's just be friends, or you need time apart, but then run off with some other guy, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is, the women of America have become, I like how he says women of America, it makes him sound like he's recording a propaganda video for ISIS. The women of America have become so selfish, dishonest, and full of themselves, they have no idea what it is they really want from a man. This is why so many guys have become that same overconfident because if we're nice guys, we get walked all over and thrown away because we're too boring or whatever other stupid reason you give. At least if we act like total we can get laid once in a while. If you could make up your minds what you wanted out of men, maybe more guys would try to be like that, but instead, you're never satisfied. And you go on forums complaining that all guys are the same overconfident. Well, maybe if you weren't sleeping with or dating that type of guy and or cheating on / turning down that nice guy for that whole stereotype you so loudly proclaim to be so bad, so many guys wouldn't be trying to be like that in the first place. So yeah, Poon is good, video games are good, but women are a waste of time and the #1 cause of BS and drama that men don't need.
I rest my case.
You rest your case?
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is Base 44. This is the first look at the current industry-leading AI app builder, and you wouldn't believe the kind of apps that people are creating.
After reading all of this over, I agree completely. Phil, I crown you king of the men and destroyer of women. You are my god. I will say, after reading this, that clip of Phil drooling over a buff dude makes slightly more sense. He wouldn't have to complain about BS and drama if he was getting the salty burst of meat in his mouth that he truly yearns for. But let's not dwell on the past too much, considering this post is from literally 20 years ago. Phil continues to give people plenty to laugh at in the modern day. In mid-2024, he decided to stream himself, quote-unquote, fixing his joystick. And by that, I mean he was trying to combine an Xbox joystick with a PS5 joystick and became extremely perplexed when they turned out to be incompatible.
Why the f*** did they do it this way? Besides, they're morons, and they didn't test to see if another brand's joystick would fit inside the combo base.
Why on God's green earth would Sony or Microsoft care to make their joysticks parts compatible with the parts of other brands? They are competitors. Not that Sony or Microsoft are geniuses, but Phil sure is doing his damnedest to make them look like they are in comparison. Could it be that I'm incompetent at assembling electronics? No. It's the professional engineers who built them that are wrong. He's so goofy that he actually started calling the manufacturers of the controller scam artists right before doing what he does best, snarkily complaining about not getting enough money.
So, thanks Rare Tricks for the last super chat. And I received $1 tip so far today. Wow, this has been a great podcast, huh? Just everything's going my way today. How could possibly things go any better for me today, right?
Honestly, Phil should look into a career in financial domination. He'd make a lot more money than he does with gaming. To the surprise of no one, his joystick was now at fault for every single time he lost a match.
Yep, that's not good at all. Couldn't get a standard combo.
Fortunately, he did eventually get his stuff together and started streaming normally again instead of having his viewers watch him fidget with busted electronics for hours on end. Not that his normal streams were much better, as he just went back to his routine of moaning about donations, and somehow even getting donations couldn't stop him from complaining about donations. In one instance, someone gave him some money to complete the daily goal and have him put on the vest, only for him to remark that he hasn't worn the vest in over a month.
Okie dokie, let's get a vest on player. Wow, this is the first time that I'm wearing a vest on stream in almost a month, I think. It's been a long time. Like when we first started with this DLC, I think there was a stream or two, but it's been a while.
But the thing is, this isn't true. Just 4 days prior, he wore it because the goal was met. Not even giving this guy exactly what he wants can satisfy him. One of the only redeeming qualities of Phil's actual streams is whenever one of his detractors managed to interact with him directly through whatever game he's playing. Such as when he was matched up against a guy named DSP Hates N-Words. But our hero is unshakable. Even in the face of adversity and mockery, he continues to stand up for what is right. Being the ethically upstanding streamer he is, in August of 2024, he went on a long rant against paid shills and basically any streamer who will compliment a product just because they're being sponsored or rewarded by a brand.
It doesn't matter if a content creator outright has a contract that says they have to be kissing a game's butt or not. They likely are going to be more positive about a game they get early, they get exclusive access to, they make money on, than a game that they don't. It's just common sense. It's not even disputable in any way, shape, or form. You cannot be unbiased.
And then, half an hour later, he said this.
They thought at the time this would be like the future of games on streaming, and that's why they paid me money to promote the game and try it, but I don't think it really went anywhere.
If there is such a thing as being immune to cognitive dissonance, this guy has the most advanced case ever documented in human history. No sense of shame, no hesitation, not even a glimmer of concern for how people may use this against him. For other streamers who get into drama, you'll see them tie themselves up in knots trying hopelessly to defend themselves. But Phil is so adamant about digging his own grave, he never has the time to lie in it. Even if you take the sponsorship question out of it, literally everything Phil does is for money. He wouldn't do anything at all if he could. There is not an ounce of passion in this man's body. Yet he confidently grandstands about sellouts. If Phil had discipline or public speaking skills, he could be the statesman of the century, the new Napoleon. I don't think I even need to say that if a company showed up and offered Phil money to promote something, he would jump at the opportunity. He just hasn't done that because no company wants to associate their product with him, which is why he's attacking people who do get sponsored, because he's probably jealous. I honestly think that something was really bugging Phil around the middle of 2024 because he started to show signs of cracking under pressure. For one, him begging for tips ramped up a lot, if that's even possible. And even after making $1,200 in one single day, he came back the very next day acting like he'll be stressing super hard if his daily goal isn't met.
Remember, my goal for today is $50 tips on stream. Everything else is great. Thanks to those who did contribute in other ways. $50 by the end of the stream would be appreciated. Sooner rather than later, even better. That way I don't think about it. Anything is appreciated tonight, whether it be super chats, memberships, gifted memberships, or tips. But the goals that I'm talking about are the King's Tips goals, as you can see. The goals are 50, 100, and 150. So if we hit 150 bucks tonight in tips, boom, we have done it again.
Now, we don't hit it right away. I'm going to have to be mentioning it, of course, over the course of the night.
He also seemed to blow up at increasingly smaller bits of criticism in his chat. Even innocent suggestions were enough to set him off really bad. In one instance, someone simply told him that it would be better for him to set up his RGB lights off stream instead of starting up a stream and having a bunch of dead air as he tries to get them working. And this is how he reacts.
Hey, enjoy your ban. And seriously, I mean it. Anyone who's going to come in here and be toxic and negative, just get banned now and speak up so I can ban you now so I don't have to listen to you ever again. Seriously. Like, why don't you do this before the stream? Why don't you do this? You're a waste of life. No one cares about you. Shut up. Stop.
Usually, you only get this amount of rage from DSP when you beat him at Street Fighter. To his chatters, he usually gets dismissive and insulting, not mad like he got here. It was a clear sign that something was amiss, and this was only compounded by the fact that soon after, DSP took part in a stream with 3 other people. Kino Casino, which is a drama live stream that covers whatever is currently going on in the e-celebrity gossip world, and Null, the owner of gossip forum Kiwi Farms. For someone who spent years railing against detractors and essentially blaming them for everything that goes wrong in his life, it's interesting to me that he seemed very comfortable rubbing elbows with people who are largely known for their documentation of figures like Phil. To be fair though, neither party was particularly hostile towards him. They did take the time to ask him about his WWE Champions account though, which got an interesting response.
So was that down from the Rafters account yours?
No. It's not.
No?
It's really not mine. I do have another account, and I do spend money on it, but that is not my account. And they have been whatever who this guy is, because people have asked me over the years.
If it is you, you're the best in the world!
So what he's saying here is that he does play WWE Champions, and as another part of the interview has him clearly state, he was deeply addicted to mobile gambling games and spent way too much money on them. But the Down from the Rafters account isn't his. To make this story even less believable, he inadvertently admits to playing the game for exactly 7 years.
This is a new account that I'm starting fresh, and it's not going to be as entertaining as if I were playing, the game for 7 years, but I'm not going to show you the account on which I've been playing for 7 years. I already said I'm not showing you my personal information. Some idiot just said you oddly know way too much about the game. What are you talking about? Did I say I never played the game? I said I played for 7 straight years on my real account, you dummy.
Which is exactly how long the Down from the Rafters account has been active. Does he expect people to truly believe that this is just another coincidence?
I think not. Of this game, and he saw all the way through to the end.
All he doesn't pay for cart wranglers, no savings go to you.
And the road team picks up the win and picks up a sweep. For Chris Singleton and our entire crew here at MLB The Show, thanks for stopping by. I'm John Shambi. Talk to you soon.
To me, it just seems like he's doing the oppositional defiant thing of just saying his detractors are wrong for the sake of not giving them the satisfaction of being right, even if he is incapable of fully proving them wrong. He's not a good enough liar or resilient enough to keep up the facade as if he has no idea what WWE Champions is and isn't spending money like a maniac. So he does a partial admission to try and eke out a victory. Then, to try and further own his detractors on the issue, he did a WWE Champions stream, inching step by step closer to becoming a gambling streamer.
Oh, we're getting a character. 3-star, 4-star, 5-star,
6 stars? What?
I got a 6-star character on the first pull, and it's a Steiner brother, and that's a good character. He's pretty good. We got Rick Steiner right out of the gates. We got a 6-star Steiner right out of the gates, the first pull. That's a rare pull. That's not like a common shitty character. He's actually good.
This arc of owning up to it and embracing the accusations had him develop a delusion that his public perception had changed, that most people were now laughing with him and not at him. He even retweeted reputable sources such as Poopy N-Word Man talking about his redemption arc. While it's true that admitting you have a problem is the first step to fixing it, you still have the other 11 steps to do, all of which ideally get you to no longer have that issue. By publicly gambling on WWE Champions, he's just making it worse.
A bunch of scummy tabloid people who have absolutely nothing to actually say about anything.
So what they do is they literally make up.
Although Phil was leaning heavily on the idea that he was owning up to it, he continued to lie for no reason, and very poorly at that. At the beginning of September 2024, for whatever reason, he decided it was time to set the record straight as far as his WWE Champions problem, only to add even more questionable wrinkles into his story.
I'm about to tell you the actual truth. However, there's still people who aren't going to believe it. There's still people who will never be satisfied no matter what I tell you. They're going to say I lied. And so, this is only for those who actually are capable of like rational thought and considering the truth and things like that. You already know I have a history of spending money on mobile games. I've already admitted it, okay? Everything that I said in that segment on stream was a lie. Literally, every time someone asked me about WWE Champions, I lied. Because to me, my personal spending, things I was doing off stream, was no one's business, okay? And every time someone brought it up, I'm like, this is so stupid, this is dumb, you know what I'm saying? And I just lied to get it out of the way. And I tried so hard for so long to lie about it, to get people to just forget about it. But I forgot, well, not really forgot, but I definitely underestimated the nature of these people who stalked me.
For starters, how much can we trust that Phil, as someone who has just admitted to pathologically lying about this subject, is now telling the truth? And to make him even less trustworthy, he can't even keep his approach straight, since literally, while he admits to having lied, he complains about how obsessive people are about verifying the things he says, calling them stalkers. Given that DSP lives off of other people's donations, and that he's literally admitting to lying to everyone here, I think there's obviously a decent reason for people to not trust anything that comes out of his mouth and double check every claim he makes. He continues with his on-stream confession.
Yes, the They Call Me DSP account in WWE Champions is my account, okay? That's mission number one. It is. It always was. So I never in my wildest dreams thought that it would ever blow up in the way that it did.
It may be hard to pick up on here, but he's lying by omission, being deceptive instead of outright lying. The account did not blow up. This was not an acute issue that just turned up overnight. People had been bringing up the account for a very long time in the specific context that, for years, Phil was begging for money online so that he could pay his bills, his mortgage, his taxes, etc., suggesting that his life could be ruined if he failed to pay, all the while splurging thousands on a mobile game. The problem isn't the game, or that he gambled some money on it. It's that he gambled a lot of money on it while telling everyone online that if they didn't donate, he might go homeless. He's now acting as if he doesn't know that this is the context and source of the criticism, which is impossible because otherwise, why would he lie about it? In another part of his confession, he mentions other mobile games he's been public about playing and how no one took any issue with them. But that's because he didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars on them and then lie about it, which is what he did with WWE Champions. To add insult to injury, he then attempts to misdirect the entire thing.
And I'm not here to tell you I didn't spend money on the game. I absolutely have spent money on WWE Champions. Okay, a good amount of money on WWE Champions over the years. I'm here to fess on this, right? This is the big moment. My detractors, seeing that there was this name that said They Call Me DSP and had spent money in the game, went on this insane stalker spree, basically trying to get me like banned from the game.
Notice how he pivots to talking about this, but is incapable of actually saying how much money he spent on the game, leaving it at a very vague, a good amount of money over the years. In my last video about Phil, I brought up the confirmed figure of $45,000 that he had used on microtransactions, which was largely made up of WWE Champions purchases. Now, the thing about that figure is, it only accounted for a bit under 2 years, from 2020 to 2021. But Phil has been playing the game since before then, and has continued playing since then. If he spent up to $40,000 over less than 2 years, how much more did he spend in total? We'll probably never know, and he'll probably never say, but it is pretty telling that he's now dropping $2,000 on it during random bathroom breaks like it's nothing. Finally, Phil admits to what everyone had been claiming for a while now, that the They Call Me DSP account had its name changed. But strangely, he does his best to avoid mentioning the Down From the Rafters handle specifically, which suggests he still doesn't want anyone to look into that account and is very insistent on trying to get everyone to just forget about it. This is what he had to say on the matter.
Up to now, all right, all this kind of makes sense, right? Because it's kind of what my detractors have always said, all right? Now I'm going to tell you the part of the story absolutely nobody knows whatsether. As of today, I don't have any control or ownership of that account anymore. I sold it. At the times when I was like desperate for money, I sold the account. I have nothing to show you to prove, you know, they'd call me DSP, and then the names that change, you know, that last name was down for the Raptors. I can't show you anything. You got morons in the chat, really morons in the chat. Show proof of sale. You really think right now I'm going to open up a PayPal account and show you anything? I'm going to open up a bank account and show you anything? You're an idiot. No one would believe it anyway. They just say I photoshopped it, or you know what I mean? I lied about this, I lied about that, right? So it's this simple, all right? You can believe my story or you cannot.
There are a lot of things that I find interesting about this part of his confession. First, I like how he prefaces it with,
up to now, all right, all this kind of makes sense, right?
which suggests that it's about to stop making sense. Surprise, surprise, it does. It's as if he's banking on you believing in the lie he's about to tell, just because what he's said so far has been true. Secondly, the excuse that he sold the account because he was having money problems is no excuse at all, since he was having money problems throughout all of his account's existence. It doesn't make it any more believable. Lastly, isn't it interesting how he only stops to do a double take and respond to the chat when they start asking for the one thing which would verify his story to be true, followed by the classic pathological liar tell of,
no one would believe it anyway.
The honorable mention moment of this non-confession is how he rushes out a mumbled down from the rafters,
And then the names that change, you know, that last name was down for the Raptors.
right before he looks at the chat and gets pissed off.
You got morons in the chat.
If he knew that he was incapable of providing anything to prove what he's saying here, and then boldly doubles down on how unimportant it is since people would just choose to think that he's lying, then why bring up the situation at all? My guess is just to try to control the narrative and proceed to act like it's addressed when, in fact, he's addressed nothing. It impresses me not only how much he thinks he can fool people, but also how little effort he puts into actually doing it. If he's fooling anyone, it's himself, as he actually thought that this confession was so solid that he then decided to publicly hop on a call with stuttering Craig, which only served to humiliate Phil as Craig dismantled his narrative with no effort.
You're wrong about all that.
Okay,
right?
fair enough. But you asked me for my opinion, so there you go.
Sure. And that also tells me where your head's at. We were mad because we were lied to.
Phil claimed that he had emailed Craig and was just about to privately show him the receipts that proved he had sold the account. But then Craig did a stream where he engaged with detractors, and that made Phil permanently change his mind. Of course, the notion that Phil had receipts ready on hand that he didn't use to clear his name just because Craig was too mean is such an insult to Craig and everyone else's intelligence that this conversation could only end in one way.
I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So people have a pretty good idea of me and my character. And for you to attack my character, I mean this with all due respect, Phil. Go yourself, because you don't know. I've gone out of my way, Phil, to treat you with respect via email the entire time. I've gone out of my way to treat you with respect and be courteous to you continuously.
Honestly, this is a complete blunder on Phil's part as far as his PR goes. If he really wanted to, he could rebrand himself as the WWE Champion Streamer Guy. It honestly couldn't get much worse than his current state. Instead, he's chosen to exist in this limbo where he suffers from all of the negative reputation of being a degenerate gambler who wastes all the money he's given, while also facing the scrutiny of pretending to be normal or redeemed, as he put it. No character development, no self-reflection, just more of this.
Let's make the tips go happen and continue the King Street. Husker, you think the begging is incessant? Well, then maybe you should contribute, and I would shut up about it. But, you know, instead you're just going to sit there and whine like a little... This guy just said in chat, I counted at least 50 beggings last night. It was a sight to behold. Part of the game, you stupid idiot. That's part of the game. That's how it's played. You don't like it, then don't sit around and watch it. No one cares about you. The King will not be bothered by such... crap.
The Down from the Rafters account kept moving sizable amounts of money regularly whenever Phil was off stream, while Phil himself, for reasons I have yet to comprehend, insisted on trying to reach out to detractor figureheads, this time aiming for Mr. Medicare, a famous lolcow critic who had targeted him prior. When this didn't work, as Medicare just ignored him, Phil managed to outdo himself in stupidity. He tried to do a collab with Low Tier God.
You just see it pulsate like moving leather.
Suck it in front of your son.
Now, if you don't know who Low Tier God is, he's another streamer who's in his 40s, and his main claim to fame is having abandoned his child. He He also went viral not too long ago for telling someone to off themselves.
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant.
And he's also well known for being racist, but against himself. Now, an additional wrinkle between Low Tier God and Dark Side Phil is that they've both been compared to one another due to both of them being broke, being really into fighting games, and being completely unable to deal with losing. And for all of these reasons, it's not really shocking that when Low Tier God demanded Phil pay him for a collaboration, Phil was totally unwilling to do it. When it comes to money, Phil only swings one way. So Phil then attacked him on stream, which I can only assume is because he wanted some drama out of it.
He kind of sits around on his streams by himself, isolated. Doesn't really collab with anyone. Doesn't really do much besides just sit there and rage at fighting games and suck half the time. Because I've seen some of his content. Sometimes he plays really well, and other times he's awful. Right? And what's funny is people are like, yeah, he gets lots of views and subs. And you look at his stream and you're like, the guy's terrible. Half the time, he's losing, and he's so upset, and he bans all these people.
Well, he got what he wanted because Low Tier God did what Low Tier God does. His last message to Phil was him trying to charge him $5,000 and getting no response. But after Phil spoke about him publicly, Low Tier God went over their Twitter DMs on stream and wrote Phil a new one.
This was my final response. I said, I'm going to let you know one thing. Don't ever in your life talk money to me. You cannot compete with me in any category in life. I promise. In any category you can possibly think of.
This desperate attempt to create some beef to clip on my name is
as pathetic as your entire internet presence and demeanor.
Revenue across the board, and have been for years.
I do not need your bum ass. You need me.
Now stay in that miserable slumber, NPC. You are literally a bum to me. Finish him!
Now share this on your poverty stream, weirdo.
Fatality.
Regardless, Low Tier God succeeded, and Phil quietly retreated into his mobile gaming streams, the only thing he had left at this point. But even then, his gambling piece was short-lived, as in late September, a clip of him playing Oblivion and struggling to deal with a lock went viral on Twitter.
This system is complete.
His latest homer in an incredible season, and it gives him the lead in the first. It's 2-0. That adds another game to his hitting streak, Chris.
Yeah, he's been doing so many things well with the plate and clearly driving the ball with some authority as part of that. He's really dangerous with the bat in his hands right now.
Jazz Chisholm Jr. now, second in the American League.
Just to explain what's going on here really quickly, if Phil paid any attention and tried to learn how the game works, he would have known that you're supposed to press X only when the spring hits the top. Otherwise, your pick breaks. Instead, he just spams X, breaks all of his picks, loads, and then does it again.
It doesn't make any sense. The system doesn't make sense.
Every time that Phil gets more attention, he also gets more detractors. Almost exactly 1 month after this tweet popped off, a Twitter user named Fronny the Tracker made a tweet sharing his beg counts playlist, where he tracked how many times Phil begged his audience over the course of 1 month, with his conclusion here being over 3,000 times, all of which are contained in 43 videos.
Let's get some contributions in. I'm seeing a lot of great names in chat. Today would definitely be a lot of a good time for get the membership. But in addition, of course, the King's Tips. We're trying to continue the King's Streak. We know it's going to continue. It's just a question of who are going to be the first people to contribute. We're about to find that out.
Now, Phil saw this, and he needed some kind of response, some kind of way to own this person, to destroy them, and to dispel the allegations that he was perhaps the most prolific e-beggar of all time.
Go ahead and get a new super chat in because that Spawn Top super chat has been there for over an hour now.
So his response was, so you're did? This post was made at 2 a.m., by the way. What a life this man leads. It's important to remark that the criticism of his begathons doesn't just come from detractors. Phil has an audience of a little over 100 regulars who are consistently active in the chat and who genuinely try to help him, or at the very least, enjoy watching his stuff. A few of them criticized Phil's insistence that the daily goal be met every day, which led Phil to constantly complain and whine and sweat it whenever the donos weren't coming in.
Any contributions are greatly appreciated. Super chats, memberships, get the memberships or tips. I do wish, obviously, to continue the King Streak. 11 now. straight streams hitting this tip's goal. Please send the tip tonight. You can do that by linking the description of the stream or just type exclamation point tip in the chat.
But Phil wasn't hearing it. Here's how their conversation went. So here we have this guy saying, the goal should be a pot that grows over time, not a streak, and when we hit certain numbers, we do something special. And Phil responds by saying, yeah, except the stuff you guys say doesn't work. I can't just play games I like. I'd go out of business and lose everything. I love RPGs and can't play them because this is my job. It's a double-edged sword having your hobby become your job for sure. Now we have a response that says, Phil, I think you should try again. It'll be rough for a short period, but we like seeing you enjoying stuff. That's when the passion comes through, when the conversation becomes easy. And Phil says, I've been working my butt off this year, if you haven't noticed. So how about you stop trying to just unload on me, acting like I'm doing everything wrong, and realize the world isn't perfect. I'm a gamer, and making game content with subpar games and all the indie games and RPGs you guys ask for do not bring in viewers or money. Phil, I don't know what more they can say. These are your real fans who care about you, and you just won't listen. I have listened, but the things being said are just nuts. No. Dropping major AAA games to play only indies and RPGs won't save anything. It will literally end my business. The facts don't lie. No, bro. The streak needs to just go. It's making the entire stream atmosphere so toxic. Okay, no streak. Back to making $50 a stream and barely getting by. Sounds like genius. Somehow, Phil manages to be even more irritated off-stream than he is on-stream. It seems like every piece of constructive criticism gets interpreted as an attack. He won't give anyone an inch, and he thinks he's right, despite being aware of the looming possibility of making next to nothing off of his streams. I'm convinced that if he lost every single one of his viewers, he'd only become even more confident that he was right all along.
You got morons in the chat.
Surprisingly, this one time, Phil's defiance of what the remnants of his fan base wanted actually had consequences. One of his most prominent moderators, named Iron Chef Sakai, began expressing his frustration with Phil during one of his reaction segments because he kept pausing the video to do nothing or eat. In the face of this, Phil reacted in his usual manner.
Iron Chef Sakai, could you please actually moderate over on Kick for a change? There's people in there outright saying stuff that you should be moderating and you're not doing it. So, please moderate. If you're not going to moderate, we don't need to have these mod over. Because you're just sitting there, there's people right next to you doing it, and you're not doing it.
And just like that, a mutiny had begun on Darkside Phil's ship. Sakai proceeded to further attack Phil in the chat. See, I would normally tip, but why would I want to drop a tip or sub bomb while this stuff is being talked about? Why isn't this a drama channel? Just rebrand. React to drama. Easy money. Why are we here? Everyone should just walk out. He stays ignoring his mods. Like, who does that, man? I'm gonna go live and talk about some insane stuff about you if you try anything. I could care less, Phil. I came for the video games, not the BS drama that you say isn't drama content, but it's all drama content. I've pulled you through so many streams, dude. I'm not gonna back down. I'm done going on about this. Just hit play or ban me. I don't care. Now, on one hand, Phil is free to do whatever he wants to do on his own streams. And just because someone in his chat wants him to do something does not mean that he should or has to. But part of Sakai's indignation here is that despite claiming to not be milking for drama, Phil kept repeatedly trying to get the attention of everyone who gave him the time of day. Even Mr. Mediker, who had repeatedly ignored his request for a conversation, was still regularly targeted by DSP as he desperately tried to get him on a call. I actually don't know what he expects will come out of this, but I don't think he's ever been this delusional in his entire online career. Now, in a stream from December 2024, he dropped this generational rant on his detractors, where he subtly implies that by being so hated for over a decade, he has somehow greatly benefited the world.
That's what happens. Remember, before all that happened, I used to be someone who could make a video about an impending law or bill that was going to be passed in the United States that could very negatively affect a ton of people, and people would listen. I made that bill about SOPA, PIPA, S.978, all that back in the day, over 10 years ago. Those videos got hundreds of thousands of views. We got people talking about the subject. They got more people informed and involved and active in our government to stop it, and none of that passed.
I'm going to stop him right there to clarify that SOPA and PIPA were two intellectual property related laws that were widely opposed in the early 2010s. And at that time, there was an enormous wave of content criticizing these laws. Phil was just riding that wave, as he's tried to ride every single wave since. And he is deliberately misconstruing it here to imply that he somehow contributed to these laws not passing, which is ridiculous and absolutely not the case. Even in his heyday, when he wasn't as maligned legend as he is nowadays, he was still just a YouTube gamer guy with very little to offer besides playthroughs recorded by a camera pointed at his television. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I don't think we should pretend that Phil ever ascended past that point to some kind of orator, some kind of man of the people. But let's allow him to finish his statements.
And then, all of a sudden, oh, Phil's a joke because this is how you don't play. Because of this reason or that reason. It's like, you pathetic excuses for humans. Allow me to repeat myself. You pathetic excuses for humans who thought that it was in everyone's best interest to try to make someone a living joke for decades, who used to actually try to go out of their way to help you. You know, as long as everyone can laugh at this meme that they recognize, that's cool. Forget about the fact that, you know, I've been around for 16 years, I'm well informed on internet, gaming, YouTube issues. I could definitely give some informed takes and things like that. Who cares about that? Instead, we have to laugh today collectively at something like a bunch of brain-dead cows, sheep, that have this herd-like mentality of just dunce-level intelligence.
Calling his detractors brain-dead cows and pathetic excuses for humans is honestly far less absurd than acting like he's ever gone out of his way to help people. I'm really at a loss for what he's even referring to here, because if he means that giving his opinions online is somehow helping the world, then the detractors have clearly done nothing to stop that, because Phil is still going. Now, if he means something else, then I'd like to know what he's talking about, because as far as I'm aware, never in his 16 years of his career has he done much of anything besides obnoxiously playing video games on camera, which is still exactly what he does. The only charity that Phil is interested in is raising funds for Phil. This isn't to say that he's evil or something. Everybody wants to make money, but this is only egregious because he continuously doesn't play it straight. There are people out there like Bellular News or Linus Tech Tips who do play it straight and try to be informational, and then there are people out there like Tom Dark who are there to capitalize off of the slop and very little else. Both are totally fine, but the problem is Phil wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants to put barely any conscious thought into what he does and still rattle off Homelander-style speeches at his detractors like they're doing something evil by attacking him.
Because for a greater part of a decade, you're the ones who degraded human existence and fried everyone's brain cells with your idiotic...
Well, I'm still here, and I'm happy with what I got.
It's just so trivial, nonsensical garbage.
I don't give about what the trolls say, what idiots on Reddit say. You can make up whatever you want. You can make fun of me, whatever you want.
But you got your lols, you got your laughs, right? You made a buck on the internet, right? Yeah, and now we're all dumb. Now look at the world, right?
Look how stupid people are on the internet. This is what you did. You made a joke out of everything.
It really boggles the mind how Darkside Phil is the one who thinks that he's making a stand against the stupidity of the world and enlightening people. Of all content creators to have that sort of pretense, it's so insane that Phil is the one showing it. Personally, I think getting lols isn't necessarily inferior to being informed. At least with the way things are now, you're probably better off watching PewDiePie play prop hunt than you are watching the news.
Okay, I gotta wait, don't worry about it. It's 3-0.
My parents didn't finish college, and I was the first person to go to college, so being able to finish and say that I did that was completely worth it. Start your comeback today.
I could have been someone who helped people with this kind of stuff. I would have liked to. I was at one point, but you just had to laugh. Well, now people have lost their livelihood and their YouTube channel. Is it funny? Are you laughing? What if it was you? Ha! And it's your fault. You're to blame. Sorry for me, I'm about to drop a little holiday truth bomb on everyone. If I had never made a YouTube video, if I had never had any prominence on the internet, if I had never bothered turning on a camera, pointing at a TV, and doing really stupid commentary, if I had never made tens of thousands of videos, alright? Here's the truth. Tons of people never would have been YouTubers, tons of content never would have been made, people wouldn't have been inspired to do what they did, and the world would be a very different place, okay? If I never existed, a lot of positive things never would have happened on this planet. Whether directly or indirectly as a result of my actions, my existence has actually prominently impacted the internet. Life, quite frankly.
I legitimately don't think he's just saying this because he wants people to think it. I think he wholeheartedly believes it. When you're the kind of person who does good things for others, you'll still do them when you aren't popular or rich, just on a smaller scale proportional to how much you can actually do. In contrast, now that Phil has very little going for him, he doesn't doesn't do anyone else good besides himself. The money he gets, he uses exclusively to self-indulge. And back when he used to have some motion, he did things like getting a condo he didn't need, and then mismanaging what he had so badly that he went bankrupt. More money or more popularity is not going to make him do more good things. It's just going to make him do even more of what he does now, which isn't something that almost anyone wants more of. If you gave Phil $250,000 today, he wouldn't become an excellent games journalist or an internet intellectual. He would just spend $10,000 instead of $2 during his WWE Champions bathroom break sessions. It's impressive how boldly he guilt trips people and says that it's their fault that he's now incapable of being an online superhero just because they laugh at him. But I guess that's one way to cope about how impotent he is in the face of his own ridicule. To summarize all of this insanity, Phil clearly thought he was cooking here, and he even zoomed in on his face to emphasize his points. But the fact is, if he actually had anything insightful or valuable to offer to the public, people would get over his incidents or how bad he is at video games. But he doesn't. So let's get back to the one thing that Phil can offer people: funny moments. As 2024 came to an end, things slightly changed for the worse. You see, for a while now, Phil has been streaming simultaneously on YouTube and Kick, which I don't really understand since he doesn't have like a huge support base on Kick to justify this. It basically solved nothing, and in fact, it created a new issue. Because even if Phil still got plenty of donations on YouTube, he is under the impression that also streaming on Kick should mean that he should be doubling the amount of money he gets, which obviously did not happen. All it did was move a splinter of his already existing audience over to a different platform. But despite his Kick viewers being 1/10 of his YouTube audience, he still thinks they should be contributing comparable amounts of money, which is ridiculous. And so, ever since his dual streaming started, clips like these have become increasingly common.
Over on Kick, we've got one person who supported all night, your future stepdad, with one sub. From now on, I'm going to be very abundantly clear with all of you on Kick. Don't ever ask anything of me ever again, because until people on Kick actually support the content, you get nothing. You got an hour left. Get to it. And thanks to those again who supported. And what I mean by that is basically everyone but the Kick viewers, because there was zero support on Kick today. Zero. I'm just going to continue to ban all your sock accounts and laugh at you, okay? It's been a great night, but man, I've only had one contribution in the last hour from Meconium. Are you kidding me? That's it? One contribution? We can do better than that. Let's get some super chats. Let's get some tips. Let's get some subs. Let's get some kicks. And for goodness sakes, let's get some memberships. What is going on? Well, I guess I'm just going to have to take away your moral support messages then.
Boog, it looks like somebody missed the swing sign.
This kind of faulty thinking has always been a staple of Darkside Phil. Stream on a different platform as if 100 more regular viewers would magically materialize, thinking he can somehow game his way into making more money. Back in the day, he did things like cutting up the episodes of his playthroughs into very short segments to artificially inflate his video and view counts. Or he would tell his viewers to click the ads that appeared on his channel to get his revenue up, which ultimately got his AdSense completely banned. And somehow, this has now been retconned by Phil into his detractors somehow being at fault.
Oh, well, he was talking about how over 15 years you begged for your audience's money. Literally never, ever asked for contributions until my trolls ruined my YouTube channel and made it so I couldn't make a living on ad revenue. All the way up through that when they got me those false copyright strikes, which ruined my channel and made it so that I couldn't make a living on ads anymore. That's when I had to start asking for crowd support. Before then, I never did.
The funniest part of this is that despite it being true that one of his old channels was heavily damaged by copyright claims, Phil himself is known to have abused the copyright system against his trolls. But he wants you to feel bad for him when he suffers the same fate. It may be tempting to pity Phil as a slowly degenerating old guy coming up with new demented delusions every day because he's struggling to adapt and survive in a constantly changing gaming and streaming environment. But it's not tempting enough that he actually warrants any sympathy.
Look, what am I supposed to do? Are you kidding me? This game is ass. This game is complete ass. They're absolutely insane, dude.
The most you can ultimately do is laugh at him, which is more than a lot of people get, in fairness.
Hate all your genders and shove. We go to the top of the fifth. Stepping up for the Guardians. Now.
But I think that deep down, Phil knows this, even if he can't consciously acknowledge it. As of late, he's edged closer and closer into becoming a drama streamer, using almost anything as an excuse to start beef or some kind of interaction with other lolcows. Whether it be on his streams, like his prolonged Cold War with Low Tier God.
This guy is the textbook case of someone who is an egomaniac.
or on Twitter, like when he replied to a viral tweet that showed him and Pirate Software. The caption on this tweet is, "These two end up locked in a room together. They cannot leave until they admit to being wrong. Who leaves first?" To which Phil replied, "Who the f is that?" It's moments like these that make it look like there's still a glimmer of hope for Phil. Obviously not as a genuine streamer, but more so as a self-aware lolcow, someone you can witness live struggling against their impulse to put their foot in their mouth. He did have a brief window to go in this direction during his redemption arc with Kino Casino, but the opportunity slipped away as Phil went back to morally grandstanding over his haters. Fortunately for him, he did get a second opportunity, and this time around, he came even closer. In October of 2025, Phil did an interview with none other than Wings of Redemption, who honestly has a lot in common with DSP. They've both been running gaming channels since the very early days of YouTube. They both had a few incidents of their own, which led to them attracting a fan base of hate watchers and trolls, and most importantly, despite how hated they are, these guys are probably the most normal and human lolcows available. While I don't think the contents of this interview really concern the narrative of Phil's story, it is a great watch if you're interested in the psychology of these people and humanizing them beyond their funny moments. If you look at the comments, plenty of people share this sentiment and express that despite being trolls of theirs, this interview was much more enjoyable to watch than anything else Phil had ever put out. Right around the same time this came out, and there was a minor but noticeable warming up on Phil from the detractor community, popular streamer Asmongold reacted to one of his clips on Twitter, getting well over 1 million views off of it.
So nobody gave him any bits at all.
I'm going to be very abundantly don't ever ask anything of me ever again.
Damn.
Don't ask for me to add new messages, new emotes, pop-ups, nothing.
What?
Because until people on Kick actually support the content, you get nothing.
As you can imagine, this introduced a ton of new people to the ever-expanding DSP universe. And to capitalize on this, Asmon followed up by doing his own interview with DSP. A lot like the situation with Wings, if you check the comments, there's plenty of people who thought that Phil came off way better than expected. Granted, he did tell some of his usual lies to make his past misdeeds look less bad, but regardless, the same effect was achieved. Once again, a door was opened. An opportunity presented itself. All Phil had to do was change, once and for all. Clearly, it was his streams, and more specifically, the way he sets his streams up so that he necessarily ends up begging for money and guilt-tripping his viewers, that regularly produced extremely hateable moments. If Phil, at this exact turning point, decided to take advantage of this situation, he could actually find himself some success. Did he do it? This is the point in the video where I say,
of course not.
Corona Sombro, Zesty Citrus, Orangey Lime, Juice y Corona.
Backing up and to his right makes the
breeze
catch.
makes sleep feel cool.
So back to
So
the
no
top
more
of the order.
sweating all night or
Stephen
blasting the air
Kwan
conditioner.
will hit next.
despite repeatedly telling Asmon in the interview that he wasn't looking to become a drama channel or to purposely rage bait people, this is what Phil was up to just a few months later.
All right, clip this and put it on Reddit for me, okay? Hello, Reddit readers. Hi, everyone who sits on Reddit all day reading it. Normal people don't sit on Reddit all day watching out-of-context crap and think that it's fact and talk about it and make it go viral. No one cares. You're a loser. You'll always be a loser. That's why you sit on Reddit all day. Enjoy your live stream fails. I'll sit here making content, making money, and having a great time with my audience, and you can get bent.
This is the textbook thing to not do if you find yourself in a situation where you're getting hate online. But unfortunately, it's all that Phil knows how to do. He literally lives for the next moment of getting a popping thread on livestream fails, another reaction from Asmongold, or a low-light clip of him being horrible at video games going viral after decades of playing them for money.
Oh my. What the? This is insane. What is going on? How do you play this shit?
That's to third.
Whoa.
Caballero.
How do I fire my gun?
2 quick outs to open the top of the sixth.
Undoubtedly, in the future, Phil will get more opportunities to try and seize a slightly bigger audience of people who only know him from the funny clips. And undoubtedly, he will keep fumbling every single one of them. He still thinks it's worthwhile to keep trying to scrap out his livelihood from e-begging and arguing with random trolls online, all while doing bare-bone gameplays that wouldn't succeed even if it was prime gaming YouTube in 2011, due to how bored and uninterested he always is during these playthroughs. Will Darkside Phil survive? Probably. I doubt he's ever going to stop making a living off of what he's doing, but he'll also never improve. Ultimately, this is the nature of Darkside Phil. It's almost like his genetic fate to be in the same spot he's been for the last 15 years. Never improving, never ascending, always, constantly, every single day, maulding.
No one would believe it anyway.
And begging, obviously.
We're only at 20-something bucks.
I've been Turkey Tom, thanks for watching, and until next time, leave me alone.
Comes a 2-2. And it's fouled off. They'll do it again.
And it's Gemini!
Great head.
Oh, yeah, we gotta keep that pressure on. And he's the active cash Visa credit card from...
In 2022, Andrew Tate became one of the most famous people in the world. His Bugatti, his lung capacity, and his promise to save young men from the Matrix became a permanent rot in everyone's minds. With his massive success came an entire genre of copycats, and some of them actually grew pretty big audiences. But in most cases, you might hear about them in a stupid TikTok and then never again.
Now, for me, $250,000 is not much money, as you guys could understand. It's because as male, an alpha male, you need that challenge daily.
This is King Azule. He went viral during the big red pill content wave, flexing his fast cars, big house, and saying that students with bad grades are actually geniuses.
You're a young boy and you're in the situation where you're an F student. Let me tell you something. You got a bright future, buddy.
Ben is also Israeli, something I wouldn't even mention if he didn't talk about it so much. He claims to be worth over $100 million, a former Israeli gangster, a counter-terrorist operative, a kung fu master who was trained by the owner of a Chinese restaurant, and a member of a real-life underground fight club. It's not shocking that all of this Temu Batman backstory is completely made up. What is shocking is the very real crime he committed almost 20 years ago, which left a 15-year-old girl beaten and traumatized after what Ben, his brother, and his friend did to her. Not to mention a myriad of other allegations that are easy to believe given his legal footprint. This is one of the most horrific cases I have ever stumbled across, and the perpetrator is about as goofy as it gets.
I had a friend that was mentally challenged. I had two friends that were in a wheelchair. I had a friend that was a midget, and I was protecting them.
This is the story of King Azule, the Israeli Andrew Tate.
First offering is
Every supposed alpha male needs a backstory to sell themselves to the world. Andrew Tate had kickboxing and his camgirl business. The Liver King had stealing pharmaceutical equipment and wearing guest clothing to school so people would stop bullying him. Naturally, when Ben was starting his career, he knew he needed a series of accolades to boost his credibility. We'll start with the About page on his website. Ben retired at the age of 24 after selling patents for $150 million. Since Since then, he's invested in hundreds of businesses as a venture capitalist and took an active role in 16 businesses that have generated over $500 million in sales. He won multiple medals in bodybuilding competitions and has competed in many cage fights around the world. The first thing I want to pick out here is the retired at the age of 24 thing. Since Ben's info has been made public due to his online infamy, we know that he's 36 right now. So he was born in 1990 and would have been 24 in 2014. We know for a fact that he didn't retire in 2014 because as recently as 2018, Ben was posting audition videos to Vimeo, which were shopped around to try and get himself a role as a professional actor.
Hey guys, Ben Azula over here with 11 Talent Agency. I'm based in Los Angeles, California.
I also want to note that on his card here, he made sure to write 5'11" and a half. Bro did not want anyone to miss that half inch.
Carter! No!
No!
Brooks.
Number 2.
We're under attack, Cap. Carter and Folk are down. We tried to raise you, but radio seems scrambled somehow. All black armor, bulletproof jacket.
Despite Ben's amazing acting skills here, his career never really took off. On his filmography page, we can see that he only had 3 paid jobs ever. One of them was as a stunt double in a 2009 slasher film called Corner. I can't seem to find where he actually shows up in the movie, but by watching some of it, you can see just how fire it is.
3-pitch strikeout last time up.
Sounds kind of kinky to me.
He was also an extra in a 2009 film called Never Surrender. Now, this movie is kind of notable because it actually stars some big names. George St. Pierre, BJ Penn, Anderson Silva, and Rampage Jackson. These guys are not big actors, but any UFC fan will know that they are all highly accomplished martial artists. Unfortunately, their skills didn't translate that well.
He has filled up the strike zone and he's gotten ahead of the count with first pitch strikes.
Ben himself is listed as wealthy person on the cast list, and I would have loved to pull a screen grab from this movie, but I cannot find this movie anywhere. They said it was on Tubi. It was not on Tubi. I tried the other highly legal method. All I got was hentai ads. I do not own a DVD player.
I'm 10 years old.
Whatever the case is, his role was relatively minor, and the movie wasn't exactly a box office beast anyway. He did take a leading role in a movie trailer, but the full thing never actually came out.
This is my battle, and you're gonna stay out of this.
We're gonna come back to this later, but after his acting career failed, Ben resumed working his actual job as a roofer and bathroom remodeler.
My name is Ben Azulai, and this is the latest project we've done here in the beautiful, gorgeous Encino Hills.
His company is called Ben Axiom, and he apparently did redesign work for homes in California. I say apparently because despite this predating his King Azule shtick and the tall tales that come with it, this website and business already feel kind of fishy to me. In the About Me section of the Ben Axiom website, we already get a prototype version of one of the stories Ben came to recycle later on. Ben Azule is a young real estate developer and a contractor. Going into the family business due to his father's accident leaving him with a broken back, Ben had no choice but to be hands-on full-time and learning every aspect of the job by the age of 13. Ben's father would joke and said,
"Son, I am a contractor, but you are an artist."
Now, Ben is bringing all his passion and skills to your lovely home, creating families' dreams in full throttle. Could this be true? Maybe, but I can't help but get the vibe that this is also somehow fake. While I do find it completely believable that Ben had some degree of involvement with this line of work, the way this business is presented in general rubs me the wrong way. For example, they had a Google Maps link on their website and it leads to nothing. On another site, the business is listed as operating in the United States minor outlying islands. We're not even 10 minutes into the video and minor is coming up already. All of this is paired with the fact that there's a ton of pictures of Ben posing in front of houses, but not a single one of him actually doing anything. It's crazy how many photos there are of him just standing around and posing while the actual workers are fully suited up doing their job, clearly confused as to why there is a metrosexual in stress jeans standing on the roof. Regardless of how legit this company is, this clearly disproves the idea that Ben was retired. If we check the Yelp reviews for his company, whether they're real or fake, they do all describe Ben physically showing up to job sites to talk to customers. I don't think the Warren Buffetts and Jeff Bezoses of this world run side businesses as roofing salesmen, so it's pretty obvious that Ben was not retired or a multimillionaire in 2018. Another claim from Ben's About page knowledge was that he had sold patents, earning him a vast majority of his fortune. Thankfully for us, a Medium writer named Yangu got curious about this and did a little digging, searching the US patent database for anything matching his story. The only patent he found was for a pandemic mask, filed by Ben Mordecai Azule. But the patent was linked to a medical company that in reality has nothing to do with Ben. Anyway, here's the video where Ben talks about the mask itself.
I made the #1 face mask in the world. Stops almost 100% of bacteria and viruses in the air. It has a UV light inside of it.
Here, the mask he is holding is a Clevair mask, which is a company located in Belgium, which operates in the European Union, not the United States. Although it's not impossible that he has actually designed a pandemic mask for whatever reason, seeing Ben explain it just makes me think that he's lying more. On the off chance that, despite having no public connection with Clevair, he does have something to do with the company, there's still nothing that confirms he made however many millions off of it. Anyone can patent anything, and there's plenty of patents that are sold for basically spare change. So until proven otherwise, this should be strongly doubted too. Ben also used this video to talk a bit about his background.
At 19, I spent my birthday in jail. And when I came out, I said, I'm gonna go on the right path. I'm not gonna get in trouble anymore. I won't hang out with bad people. I'm gonna clear my mind and go only into business.
In fairness, there are a lot of people who get involved with the wrong crowd at a young age and then manage to turn their lives around. But I want you to keep this tidbit in mind for later when we get to what Ben actually did. Besides the mask, Ben said that he had 16 businesses. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt and count both his roofing business and his mask thing. There's still 14 more to go. Ben has mentioned one other business called a Camoy, but there's no evidence that it even exists, and Ben never said what it was about, so I'm gonna call that cap. As far as the other 13 businesses, I have no idea what they are, as Ben was never specific about them, so I'm once again going out on a limb to say that he just made this number up entirely. With the business part of his backstory pretty much vaporized, we're left with one other interesting claim. Ben said that he has won multiple medals in bodybuilding competitions. This is also verifiably false, as these contests always keep records. Ben competed 3 times, once in 2013, once in 2016, and once in 2022. None of these were world-level championships, and instead they were at the state level, and his highest placement ever was second in his class. And this part is really important because each class is only competing against a few people, meaning he was nowhere near the overall top of these competitions. With yet another lie disintegrating, we're left with one last tall tale. Ben said that he has competed in cage fights around the world. Hold on to your Funko Pops, because this lie on its own is like a tiny little Jenga block that unravels the entire castle of cards that is Ben's persona. Earlier, I mentioned that Ben has only appeared on screen in 2 productions. I believe that these roles irreversibly molded the person he now pretends to be. This is actually something which he himself has hinted at.
Whole life is a movie. Everything we do, every movie that was made was inspired by real life. He said if the mind can conceive it and the mind could believe it, the mind will achieve it.
We'll start with the movie starring all the UFC fighters. It's about underground cage fights being held by a Russian mobster. Coincidentally, Ben himself has claimed to have fought in plenty of underground cage fights for mobsters. Life is crazy, right? That's some serendipity. That's a twist of fate. His history with organized crime begins with his uncle on his father's side.
But from my dad's side, I have an uncle that is in prison that nobody knows about. I've never even shared his name.
He's the biggest gangster in Israel. In the history of Israel.
Oh, he's been locked up for a few years now, but
I think he's got like 50 years in prison.
But
if he says tomorrow in the prisons in Israel, nobody eats,
everybody's
fasting.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, platforms ready for many, from passion projects to enterprise-grade systems, everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation, where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality, right now.
That misses. And the count is 1-1. On the ground, right side.
I love you.
And that chance handled. Tosses to first.
Here.
Fine playing the hole for the out.
What?
I can feel
He's on the
myself
verge of a
changing.
milestone. His next home run will be the 300th of his career.
I
On
barely
the ground,
recognize
out to
myself.
short. Throw the first. Ball game. And the Yankees
my
add
auntie.
another to their winning streak.
It has become increasingly
like it.
difficult to throw a complete game shutout because of the offensive prowess that these hitters
Everybody's
are showing
fasting in
around the
all
league
the
today, but he
prisons.
had total command
Everybody's fasting.
of this game, and
It
he
was like
saw
a
it all the way
published
through to
people.
the end.
Okay,
Nice
so
win.
his uncle on his dad's side is the biggest gangster in the